the magazines that came home were National Geographic and Reader's Digest. I didn't know Stardust existed beyond the point. When I did my advertising, look at the check that comes in. Look at the difference, especially for a government employee. Look at the salary. I was with my half a day's work making as much and suddenly starting to make more. It was crazy.
I mean, women not being allowed to age comfortably also.
They've never been allowed to age
Yeah,
comfortably.
I guess.
Women have never been allowed to do a lot of things. Aging is a part of it. Men can age and still be okay, but women need to look like virgins, if I say so.
Let me ask you about your illness. You've been very clear and open about the fact that this is something you will talk about.
Yeah.
What happened when you got the diagnosis? How did you get the diagnosis? How did you deal with it first? Just you personally.
Disbelief. There were times when you would just say that I just don't want to get up. Like, let it be over. There's no need. What's the big deal? So there were days when you would just feel that let it end here. My husband refused to. I'm sorry. But my husband refused to give up on this. Even the anesthesia needle that they use for babies used to take time and wouldn't go in. And my reaction, the way my body was. So I started from there after I came back. Then by the time the doctors, whenever I would go for my scan and the way I was improving, at one point the doctors have asked me, what are you doing? Because they are seeing the scan. They're seeing my internal organs. They're seeing everything. They're saying, how can this, we've never seen it heal like this. When I wake up in the bed, I said, okay, smile. Let is it. What am I going to face my day with? Whatever it is that is coming, it's with a smile. When you've been a reader, it helps you navigate situations because somewhere, every situation that life throws at you, you've read about it somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's knowledge because you've read about it somewhere. There's knowledge about it. And I think that's what it was. It was the reading that took me through.
Sonali Bendre, thank you so much for agreeing to do this conversation. It's been in the works for a while. We've both been trying to find the right time to sit down, but here we are.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here.
And I'm so happy to be here as well because I have so much to talk to you about. And, all of the... You started your career as a model and then became an actor at, films like Sarfarosh.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I'm assuming the industry was very, very different.
It was, yes.
Yeah. So I read that apparently for your first shoot as a model, you didn't know you needed makeup.
Actually,
Well, what happened? Was it Mickey Contractor was your first makeup artist? That's a good way to start, though.
it was fabulous way to start.
That's a great way to
Considering that I was such an outsider, didn't know anything about it. But before I start, I have to say that I've always been such a huge fan of yours. You know that, and it's such a pleasure to talk to you. So I'm very excited about this conversation. And I hope I can learn some things about you also in this conversation.
Let's try.
Yeah. But so I know everybody says I was a model, but I never really did ramp modeling or like that live modeling. What happened was it was a very interesting phase that I got into the industry. First of all, I was spotted at a college fashion show on which I was put up because somebody had broken a leg. And, the male model had no... so the colleges suddenly propped me up. I'm like, I don't know how to walk. We'll teach you. In half an hour, you'll learn that. What do I wear? We will dress you. So the colleges, basically, they've done that. And I was spotted over there. And started working from... so it must have been like I finished my 10th, 16. So, and started my 11th. And this is where I would have been. My first photo shoot, the ad was a photo shoot. I go into the shoot and it's Mickey and Gautam.
Gautam Raj.
I have no idea Mickey, Gautam Rajadesh. I had no clue. I have walked in there and I'm saying, okay, some shoot was going on and they're like, okay, now this shoot has to start and we'll get ready. And Mickey comes and he sits and that Bawa, Parsi Bawa, that Mickey is, he says, the amount, I can't even tell you the string of abuses that happened. So I'm in shock. I'm like, where the hell have I arrived? I'm like, forget this job. I need to leave, nearly. And then he just pushes me, he's like, you come to work. Eyebrows are not done. What is this and all? I said, I have never done them. What do you mean? And suddenly Mickey just kind of calms down because he's come from a shoot. He looks at me and he's saying, First time, what's your name? Da, 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 da. Marathi, yes? I said, yeah, and whatever. And then he says that, you should have. I said, I have no idea. I've never done that. So then he just calms down. And then he just took me under his wing. So my first time that the eyebrows that were done by Mickey.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? I had no idea about who was the whole thing now when I look back. But yeah, I think I learned from the best. Then I go in front of the camera. I have no idea about how do you pose, what is your angle, what is the thing. So yes, it was Gautam teaching me, Mickey showing me, no elbows, no this, what is the, how do you pose.
Yeah.
They were the best teachers, and at that point I had no idea about who was teaching me. But now as I got on in this line, because at that point I didn't even know if I would continue in this line, but as I did that, I realized that I was taught by the best.
But your parents, I mean, no one linked to the industry, so it took some convincing.
Oh yes, they took a lot of convincing. At one point, there was the magazine called Stardust.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So I get a call. I go for audition, and because modeling, advertising, you need to go to audition for the various products. So I, from college, have gone for an audition, which I thought is for a product. And then I realized they said that, no, it's for, we're starting a batch where we want to take in new faces and train them for movies. I said, but I'm not interested in movies. I don't want to do this. Okay, but you just auditioned. I said, no. And then there were a lot of people there and all of that. I said, I don't have the time to wait. I can't stay. I'll not be allowed. I need to get back home. This advertising and all, everything's band ho jayega mera. So I was like, I need to get home. This is too late. And I'm not interested in it. So they said, listen, you're here. Just do it. And then they said, could you read I said, they gave me a page. I said, listen, I'm not going to learn these lines and do this and all. I don't have the time for it, nor do I have the interest in it. They said, just read the lines. I read Hindi well and spoke well because though I'm a Maharashtrian, I'm not brought up in the city. I've traveled across the length and breadth of the country because my father was in the central government services. So I'm a Kendriya Vidyalaya student. So my Hindi is it's CBSE board. There is no getting away from that. So I took it, okay, what was it? I said, oh, it's such a luck. I said, but I need to leave, we'll do yours first. So I went there, stood there, and I just read it out, and I did this, and I was having a laugh, basically. And I said, okay, now I'm going. I left after a few, I forgot about it. After a few days, there was no telephone in my house at that point of time. My sister, elder sister, was a little older than me and had already gotten married. It was at her in-laws' place that the number that was given, the landline number. And I'd given that because that was the only phone. And she lived in Shivaji Park.
Okay.
It was quite messy, this whole situation. They started getting calls that she's selected. I said, but we are not interested, so forget it. Then they've come searching for me, saying that we want you to do this, and convince my parents that we should do it. So eventually my sister tells my parents that, you know what, think of it like a public speaking class. And, rather than sending her for that, it's good when she goes for job interviews and stuff like that. It'll be good for her. Not a bad idea. Like, in between, it was like a summer course as you do. So in between the holiday, the summer holiday, went for this thing. By the time there were 6, 7 of us over there, come from different parts of the country, all so into movies and wanting to make it in movies. And I was the only one who was taking it lightly. But at the end of the thing, I was the only one who walked out with a movie, signed for a movie. And I felt very guilty. Because I knew that everybody here was they wanted
it so badly.
And I didn't want it. And yet I'd gotten it. So suddenly I started feeling like, what is this? I started looking at it differently. Till then it was still fun and games. And, I was just laughing it off. But I said, I knew how desperately they wanted it. And what all, they were ready to go to any lengths to get that. And it was such a thing that they'd come with. And I said, this is something special. They all want it and I've got it. What am I doing with it? So that's where then I started looking at it a little differently.
Because, what a lot of people don't realize when we're watching the films on the other side, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of physical, emotional work. Yeah. So if you don't really love it or you don't really want it, then it's difficult to do. So at some point you did
start falling in love with it.
Start falling in love with the films?
It took a long time. So I fell in love with the money I was making. That was the thing.
As one would, yes.
The paycheck was super. And it was just as simple, because thankfully, because I was so young, the deal that I did eventually cracked with my parents, especially with my, was that I'll sit for this because central government employee father, smart daughter, IAS banegi.
That was the ambition.
Dream, the ambition. I'm like, maybe I could be, my mother is, my elder sister wanted to be an air hostess and they were like, no, where will you travel, alone girl and all of that. And she didn't. And I'm like, they didn't let her be an air hostess. There were so many things. They're never going to let me do this. But my logic was, once I understood what it was, I told him, Baba, if I do this, give me 2 to 3 years. Because I'm still eligible to sit for the exam. I promised you I will do that. I promised my mother I'll complete my graduation, that I will be a graduate. And I promised my father that give me 2, 3 years. And if I don't, I will give the exam and I will do what you want. But give me this year. I said, this is a line that none of us have ever done. We don't know anything about it. But look at when I did my advertising, look at the check that comes in. Look at the difference, especially for a government employee. Look at the salary. I was with my half a day's work making as much and suddenly starting to make more. It was crazy. And that, he said, no, but whatever. I said, Baba, you can't deny this.
Yeah.
And what helped my cause and not my elder sister's cause was also, a couple of things, how timing happens, was that my family went through a really tough time. And there was a huge, my father trusting had handed certain things over, family cutting. He let my brother have it and, right now I don't need it. But eventually it never came back. It was gone. And suddenly he was like, but now I have 3 daughters and what am I going to do? Yeah. And I've been living in the quarters, but now I don't have a home.
Yeah.
And there was panic. And I could see my father literally, I thought we will lose him. He was that kind of panic. So it was like a meltdown that was happening. So it was the correct time to put this argument in. And I did put that in and I kind of got away with it. And then I said, chalo, 2 and 3 years. But I never looked back after that.
What is your fondest memory from film sets?
I'm sure I will have more fond memories because I'm definitely back on sets. Now I am in that zone where it is like, listen, with my war paint on kind of a situation. Like they say, I'll die with my boots on. It's that sort of a zone because, I think, but it took me a very long time to fall in love with my profession. For the longest time, because you were learning on the job. It was so stressful to learn on the job. And I always felt, and it is a fact, it was not just me feeling, I was not good enough.
Initially, you just feel like everyone's talking a language you don't understand.
Yeah.
Right? What is a dolly? What is it this? What is it that? What's a shot? The film sets tend to
got
use
that bit easier. The technical bit came in easier. I could understand the equipment. I could understand the language. I was a reader. I started reading up about filmmaking. I started reading up, directors when they've written the books and stuff like that. So everything, I worked on it like how I would. It was like going to school.
Civil services exams.
Yeah, but that is not movies. And so everything was very studied and very and but what you need on a film set or in front of the camera is to throw the book away and feel.
Yeah.
And that took a long time for me to get there, to understand that. And for the longest time, I would feel that, my God, if I was a producer, I wouldn't sign me. So I kept feeling that. One was the thing that, people wanted it, trained for it, didn't get it, I got a job. And then I'm not even good at it. So there were a lot of issues that I was dealing with. So there was a lot of stress. I was not trained dancer. For me, and not a trained dancer is like a unheard of thing. So suddenly I was shooting and I was training and trying to learn. And my first song that I shot for was film Naraz, Sambhala Hai Maine, beautiful song.
Yeah.
And I'm in Malaysia, first time traveling abroad. So even more of a thing. First, I don't know the team that is there with me. My mother, nobody had come with me because my mother was very clear that if you went to an office, I wouldn't come and sit at the desk next to you. I have a daughter at home. I'm not coming. You want to do this job, it's a job. You will do it. And I'm like, so I'm all alone traveling for the first time, new makeup, new hair. I don't know anybody. And basically it was Pooja Bhatt was in the film. So the clothes and everything, whatever was left over was basically mine, So it was anything that was left over, makeup, the hair, whatever, that was mine.
That song was huge. It made you.
Yeah.
People recognized you. Because
that song.
I mean, I'm singing it in my head right now.
So when I'm shooting for this song, and as we are doing that, okay, you're supposed to walk from here to there. It was not a dancing song, it was a walking song. Thank God for that. So, okay. And all this while, it's action and then you do it. But now we're shooting for a song and there is a dance master and they say, 5, 6, 7, 8, loudly. I got scared. I turned around and I looked at them. But why are they counting? The whole set went silent and they're staring at me like, where is this girl from?
Yeah.
It was like, what is... And I didn't understand. And then they have all laughed at me. And they said, but when you shoot a song, this is what they say. They're giving you the beat. I said, oh, but I'm just walking. No, but you are walking to a beat. Okay. And then I said, oh my God, there's a lot to learn over here. So I think after that, my time just went in learning. I just turned into a sponge. I was just soaking everything in. And so again, the question was, I'm digressing, sorry about that. The question was the fondest memory. But for the longest time, there were no fondest memories because it was all attached to stress and the feeling of not being good enough and the insecurity that I'm not living up to it, that these dancers are doing it better than me. And then it reached a point where I said that, you know what? But I am here and not them. And there's a reason why I'm here. Then I would always feel I'm here, but that's not my doing. It's the genes. I've got the looks from my parents and that's why I'm here. So again, I didn't feel like I was earning my place and learning on jobs. So
we now call that the imposter syndrome, and we've discovered that most women
later
have it.
On,
Yeah.
I didn't know, but I led most of my life under this imposter syndrome. Yeah. And then as time passed by, then, slowly I started getting comfortable. I started, I started enjoying it a little more. Sarfarosh, because John was my director, John wanted me in the film because he had done advertising with me. And we had done some couple of advertisements. He always said, and the way I was on the set, because I was doing it for the lark.
Yeah.
So I was always having fun on the set. And suddenly I had turned into a very different person when I came into movies. I had turned into this straight, sober, really like basically a tight ass, if I can say that. So he was like, where is that girl that I had seen on the set? And he reminded me of that girl that he had seen in advertising. And the loosening up started from there. So somewhere from there, I started loosening up and understanding that, but why am I not being myself? But I enjoy this so much. And then I started enjoying the work a lot.
So why did you have to become this straight, sober?
Because also it was just such a different world. And alone, very young, and it was literally like I was on another planet. The magazines that came home were National Geographic and Reader's Digest. I didn't know Stardust existed beyond the point. So when I went for Stardust ka audition, I didn't know it was a magazine or it was some product because it didn't come home. I had not really, you don't read that. So that is where I was coming from. It was, there were no fashion magazines and all. It was just not my thing. We didn't have a television at home, no phone at home. So I came from, and now when I tell my parents, I think, it was like you brought us up in a cult, like, it literally feels like that now.
What was that like? I mean, to be so young, to be an outsider, to not have a parent look out for you on set, to sort of defend your rights in terms of these are my payments, this is what I didn't agree to do this. Was there a lot of that?
Yes, there was. And that's the thing. It toughened me up. I became tough. I think that also toughened me up, and yet because that softness that was there. So somewhere I think I kind of managed that combination has happened eventually in life. But nothing kind of puts me down. After I've gone through that, it was that growing up was so hard that nothing can faze me now, I feel. I can take anything on my chin now. Yeah, and that was a big part of that growing up. The industry was tough. But also, while it was tough, there was a side to it where I met just the most wonderful people also. I mean, now I found my family there, so my extended family is in the industry. I'm married to Goldie. But to find that, it took a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But I found those. And there's equal amount of that. As much as there is the toughness and the hardness, there is that which is because the people are also so emotional.
So you said now you're ready, or you've got your boots on. Do you want slightly more like grey?
Yeah, I do. Of course I do. Because I don't think I have a lot of grey in me.
We all do.
We all do.
I think that
we are all human.
The best, part for me as we watch how OTTs brought in more characters and women of different ages and different kinds of women is this idea that women are not either all good or all bad.
Yeah.
Each and every one of us is a bit of both.
Yeah.
Right? And you can be like, you played a great journalist, but there's also like, there's the hesitation, there's a little bit of grey area in that character.
Her personal life was so messed up, and it was such a. But I've also done a film like Zakham because I love the story, and I knew that it's butts up, and it is Pooja will have a certain thing in it. But by then, it was not like I was in Naraz where it was anything that came. That was an option. When I could have opted out of it. But I thought it was a story that needed to be told. And, I liked that idea. And I think somewhere, now when I look back at it, when you've been a reader, it helps you navigate situations. Because somewhere, every situation that life throws at you, you've read about it somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's knowledge because you've read about it somewhere. There's knowledge about it. And I think that's what it was. It was the reading that took me through.
You've started a book club.
Yes.
On Instagram.
So when I got onto social media, I didn't want to be on social media. I just found it. Then I was like, no. And then it was like, there's so many fake accounts that the team was like, listen, we need to have one.
Do one real account.
Yeah, real account. When I got onto it and I realized that, not bad, quite nice. And suddenly I don't have to depend on journalists to give my side of the story. Sorry to say that. Say that's not you, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
See, all of us in our professions have both the types of all kinds of people. But so I didn't have to wait for a journalist to put my side of the story, which was definitely influenced by what they thought and how much attention they got from me. So I loved the fact that I could do that. And then I felt that I could do so much more with it. And see, every tool that is fabulous can be used for good or for bad.
Yeah.
So everything. So that I just use social media for good, and that was a book.
The journalism point that you made, right? There was this Stardust days that was writing the gossip columns, half of part truth, part legend, some stuff made up entirely.
Part legend. No,
more than. And to where we are right now with the paparazzi, with the paps, and lurking from other buildings into someone's house and taking photographs without permission. Social media handles writing complete fabrications about very personal aspects of our people's lives. Have the whole, like the film journalism is a category.
Yeah.
Has it just completely deteriorated?
Now everybody's doing film journalism.
Yeah, but what is
social media film journalism?
What is that?
There'll be a lot of them who will want to kill me for saying that. But some of them did write well also. There were really good stories also. I won't take away from that. And some of the journalists from there are really dear friends today also. Yeah. So, I mean, it takes all kinds, definitely. But, strangely now today, I mean, maybe 4 years back I wouldn't have given this answer. But today where I sit, I feel that we're coming to a stage where at that point of time, information was scarce. So you got it only monthly or bi-monthly. There was no page 3 also. Then the what is that? Blind item.
Yes.
All that was not there.
Yes.
That all started coming in later. And that also used to come in twice a week or something like that. But so the information was scarce. So there was not that much information. So whatever came out, it's in black and white. The saying, you believed everything.
If it's in print,
black and white. It was believed. And now when you look back, that's true about most of our history, geography, news, everything. Black and white, we believed everything that was printed. But now I think there's just so much that everybody is reaching a point of saturation where even if you tell the truth, they'll not believe it. I think we're reaching that stage now.
It's so sad.
So from the other side where you believed everything, we are reaching a point where anything that is said, at least I don't believe anything that is said.
As a celebrity and a member of the industry now, when you step out and, there are cameras and people are taking photographs of you and everybody has a cell phone, do you miss the days when, it was only when you went to a party and then you could go back to your life to some extent? Or is this more intrusive?
Yeah.
What's it like?
For me, the initial period when this whole scenario started was difficult. But I think I've adjusted well to it. And it's all change. I think, again, like everything is a part of a change. And I just need to look at it differently is how it was. So how do I look at it differently? It sounds very strange. I'm on a Faye show. I should be talking seriously. But yeah. But something as silly as when I step out, I have a certain face on.
Okay.
So cameras are going to be on. Phones are going to be on. It doesn't matter if it's paparazzi or not. Anybody will take it, put it. It's on the net. It's out there.
It's out there.
So after a few timings, it's just that. And then, am I okay to be clicked like this and be written about? Yeah, I'm fine with it. Okay. Then you're okay with it. So there is a certain face on when you step out. And that, otherwise don't step out.
Yeah.
It's become like that for me. Then you find various places. And now where do you go in the world where it's not going to be there? There really is no place like that other than your room kind of a sort.
Is it exhausting though?
Yeah, there are pros and cons to it. But on the other hand, through the line that I'm in, if I'm not seen, I'll not get the work. And, you have to keep reinventing yourself. And you cannot reinvent yourself if the reinvention is not seen by others. And you'll be seen only if you are out there and you're photographed. So it's part of the job.
I know that you said in an interview that it's part of being in this profession to look a certain way. Yeah. Being good looking is important to being on screen. Now, is there a different pressure? Is there more pressure? Because there's a lot of pressure on younger people as well to fix aspects of their faces, to just remove the flaws because it's possible to do so.
Yeah.
So from where you're looking at it, is the pressure different?
For the young people?
For everyone. I mean, women not being allowed to age comfortably also.
They've never been allowed to age comfortably.
I guess.
Women have never been allowed to do a lot of things. Aging is a part of it. Men can age and still be okay, but women need to look like virgins, if I say so.
Forever.
Forever, yeah. But the other side for me, what was the thing? I think, again, also the illness that I went through was also a huge part of it. That you lose the looks, the hair, everything that was the most important thing. That was your bread, butter, jam and more, you lose, and then how do you face it? And that has been either you go into hiding or you accept it. And like I said, I think that growing up, of getting into the film industry and being exposed to it alone and dealing with it, there was one thing that I know, that I'm not a quitter and I'm not somebody who's going to hide. So, okay, at the most you will say, not good, not acted well. Like when I did my play, I did Aapki Sonia, which was a sequel to Tumhari Amrita. Farooq Ji is no more, but till he was there, we used to do this, the play. I was pregnant with Ranbir when I was doing it. And just after I delivered him also, I was doing it. I have never done theatre in my life. So it was more like, I need to know, what is it? Everybody says, when you come from theatre, you're a better actor. I said, I need to figure this out. I mean, it took guts, let me say it that way, to do something that Shabana ji was doing and, sequel to that and go and do it. And, I was very scared to do it. And I remember sitting down, reading it. I said, but the story is so sweet and I love what is being. And I'm a big fan of Farooq ji's, and it was such a pleasure to work with him. And, Javed Siddiqui, what an amazing writer. He'd written it. I said, I love all of that. I love the around it, just that I have to go and perform it. But when you're rehearsing, I'm around these people whom I'm learning so much from. Just sat down and I said, you know what, Sonali? Anyway, every time you get reviews there, you're called a non-actor. So anyway, I'm being called a non-actor. One more time, they'll call you a non-actor. Big deal. What's the new thing?
They were
in it?
calling you a non-actor.
Always. I was always called the non-actor in
What?
the thing. Maybe I was. I was learning on the job, and I'm sure I was. And there were people who were
You know,
better.
it's like I met Shobha Day a few months ago, and she said, I'm 70 years old. I modeled for like a few months, and I wrote for 50 years, and they still call me model turned author.
Yeah.
After all these years, because
Yes.
they never forget.
Yeah.
They never let you forget where those origins
beginning.
came
Yeah,
from. But
yes.
yeah. Was that the
Absolutely.
case with you? Because they always, called you model turned actor.
Model turned actor when I've never done the ramp. And people half the time don't believe it. When I walk the ramp, I've only done it later on for charity. I've never walked the ramp unless it's been for a cause. Some sort of a cause connected with whatever that person is doing or giving to and all of that. Anyway, so that was the thing. So I said, you know what? Anyway, I've got that. So how does it matter? I'm enjoying this. Let me do it. And I did it. I had a great time. I loved it. And I realized theatre is definitely not for me. It's too repetitive. I love moving on to the next thing. I don't like dwelling in the past. Nothing against people who say, oh, I'm doing it again. And this time I gave it this expression. Great for them. Admire you. Not for me.
Let me ask you about your illness. You've been very clear and open about the fact that this is something you will talk about.
Yeah.
What happened when you got the diagnosis? How did you get the diagnosis? How did you deal with it first? Just you personally.
Disbelief. It just didn't feel like this. They must have mixed the reports. The first thing that we all want to, the denial of the 100% the reports are mixed. These can't be my reports. But it was like the doctor saying no. So I was in for a procedure, which was supposed to be a normal procedure, like, just figure out kind of a thing, a gynecological procedure. And I come out of anesthesia and my gynecologist is like white. And he's like, I'm sending it, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I don't know. It was like, and they always kept saying, how can you have it?
Okay.
So it was like a strange thing. I think I'm jumping the story a bit, but I've spoken about it so much, I'm sure people will connect with it somewhere.
Because you started off because you felt some pain and then you decided to check it out. Yeah.
I was going through, so also again here now I don't want to go into the details of what and if and how, because I think everybody tries their best. But I was complaining of certain issues, and they could have been looked into in more detail and should have been pushed by the professionals as well as by me. I should have paid more attention to it, which I did. My body was giving me strong signals, and I just, again, in the same way, it was like, this can't happen to me. It happens to somebody. It doesn't happen to me. I'm a healthy person. I lead a healthy life. So it was just disbelief. I said, it can't be happening to me. And then we go to the next stage of testing and all of that. And it keeps feeling, okay, chalo, maybe it's happening that much only. Then it became, what we realized was that it is spread everywhere. And they were like, every time the doctors would come out after every test, they were going from gray to white. And I mean, they're trying not to tell you, but I'm like, doctor, I can see it on your face. You don't have to tell me anything. So what is it? And at one point when I realized what it was, okay, we'll try what are the various treatments. But I actually felt, okay, that this is it. My husband refused to, I'm sorry, but my husband refused to give up on this. And he was like, no, we are going. And I'm like, what the hell? Leave my life. My child is young and go away. We will do it. But he was very, very clear about it. He said, I will not live with regrets and I will not let this happen. We have a regret. This should have been looked into earlier. We didn't do it. I will not have one more regret after this. We will go there, whatever it takes. And literally from the time I was diagnosed, in 4 days' time, I was on a flight I went to Sloan and started the treatment. And after I started the treatment, then I put it out because I was working on a show at that time. And I knew that my absence will be noticed because it was a weekly thing. And so then I put it out on my social media account that this is what has happened. And so I'm going to take some time out and this was it. And I thought, this is it. Band ho gaya. We will go on with, the treatment and whatever it takes. The next day, obviously, because I have put it out and in New York gone to bed, and then I wake
You wake up in the morning.
and that has been the whole day in India has happened, and everything has gone mental and viral and whatever it is that you call. And basically, in the next few days, over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever the various media was, what me and my team we realized was that we were getting response from all across the strata of society, people sharing stories of what was happening to them. It was from villages, towns, cities, abroad, anybody, all ages, talking about aunts, uncles, friends, sisters, children. There was all the age groups, every strata of society, from rich to not so rich, everything, out there, they were all reaching out. See, that's the democratization of information by social media. And for me, the first reaction was, if it was so common, why have I not heard of it? And I read, I'm exposed to things now. I consider myself knowledgeable. Obviously, this is I don't have any knowledge of this. Why is this? Why did I not know it? And then as we talk about it, you realize closer to home also people saying that, where they talk about this disease and then they say, oh, it was some other, they give it another name and not well or go into hiding. What I understood basically was that this was a conversation that was not really said like it was taboo, but nobody spoke about it. It was hidden. And I said, but why is it being hidden? And because it went out, I got so much of support from everybody. I said, but why are we not talking about it? And then that means you're ashamed of it. But why should I be ashamed of this? I've done nothing that is wrong. Why should I be ashamed of it? And that's where it came from, that I will talk about it. I didn't want it to be gory and all of that. But I put out my journey.
You started off saying that there was denial, and we know that there are other stages after denial. But while physically you did fight, was there a mental health journey along with it?
Yes, of course.
To accept, to decide that, no, this is a hard fight, but I'm going to do it. What was that like?
So in my team of doctors, I opted for a naturopath because the treatment that you go through is worse than the disease, actually, which is killing it. It just kills you. Like the doctor's words were, we are basically carpet bombing your body. So it's as good as a nuclear attack. And then you will, cells will grow back again. So it's that kind of a language you're talking about your body. I learned to feel bad for my body. I learned to be a little more, tender towards my own body. When I heard that, I wanted to hug myself and say, oh, is this what you're going to go through? And so I realized that, maybe this is the proved way of doing it. A lot of people reached out with alternate medication, but I was at fourth stage. I had no time
to experiment.
Experiment. So then what we chose to do was get a naturopath for the healing process. And that's the main thing about this, that how do you heal from it? And then you realize that what you eat, how you sleep, and your gut health, so now it's been spoken about a lot more. At that time, nobody spoke about all those things. So I just went into me, like how I did with movies. I went into reading up about it. So here I went into reading up about it and how do I heal? And so in the process of healing, I also went to what they call an oncopsychologist. So, actually there are support systems for your support system, because the primary caregivers also go through so much that, they need help also, not just the patient, and me too. So, just getting there and understanding that, why did I get it? How did I get it? It's not my fault. It's not my lifestyle. Just understanding that helped me understand and not feel scared of it. That, okay, this was meant to be. I realized it was genetic. It came from... Then we moved into the next stage of it. When I realized that means rest of the family has it. So the idea was that, okay, we got in touch with extended family and told them, you need to test. Then I got their testing organized. We tested everybody and we found a lot of others. We had lost a few people. There were other cousins who, we found the gene and so knew that they were there. Now they know that the next generation which ones of them need to test at a certain age to know if this gene has been carried on. So you can catch it so much early, and then you don't have to go through this kind of treatment. You can catch it early and you can be okay.
Yeah.
So the cancer is really not that scary if you catch it early.
Early enough. Yeah.
The problem is that we don't catch it early because it's a great, the cancer cells are your cells which have turned cancerous. So they hide so well, a lot of times. So the point is to detect it early. Now, you detect it early by talking about it, by having the knowledge of it. And I got everybody tested. And, only at Tata, they were doing certain kind of testing. I got everybody to come and do things there. And then I started talking about how important genetic testing was. Because what I realized was that in the US, they have the data bank. So if today, if somebody is suffering with lymphoma or a blood cancer, you don't have the data bank where you can trace a donor. So in what you would call we are the South Asians, right?
Yeah.
And we are such a strong group and different. And we are there all over the world. But just because there's no data bank for this, you can't find the donor. You lose lives because you can't find the donor. Because people will not test and be genetically tested. And no, we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. There's no harm in it. Look at your data on your phone. They know everything about you. You might as well do genetic testing and be done with it. Because they know everything about you anyway now. So yeah. That's how I started talking about it. And I said, no, I need to talk about it. And then, once I recovered, I got so much of... I thought that if I've been given a second chance, I think maybe this is what I need to do and be honest about it and talk about it as it is, I didn't want it to be dramatic.
Yeah,
but,
you did say you promised yourself that you'd make the most of this second chance.
Yes,
right?
I did. Thank you, Urmil. I did say that. Make the most of the second chance and, so no regrets. No.
So what does that entail? So when you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, today's my day.
Yeah.
What is the learning that you're applying to your day from this entire experience?
So there are certain small things that I always did, especially in my recovery process. One was when I woke up, meditation was important and it did help me a lot, mental health wise. And I do genuinely believe it helped me heal my body. I genuinely believe that. Because and the reason, I'll tell you the reason why I believe that. It's not just I feel it, but because when I came back and, every 3 months I was doing a scan. I mean, the scan that I was doing in the process to get the dye in and all of that, when you do the scan, you couldn't find the nerves because all my nerves are shot.
By that
They're scabbed from inside because of the chemotherapy. They literally burnt from inside. So, even the anesthesia needle that they use for babies used to take time and wouldn't go in. And my reaction, the way my body was. So I started from there after I came back. Then by the time the doctors, whenever I would go for my scan and the way I was improving, at one point the doctors have asked me, what are you doing? Because they are seeing the scan. They're seeing my internal organs. They're seeing everything. They're saying, how can this, we've never seen it heal like this and so fast. And the veins from that needle to going, taking a normal needle, though a thinner one, but, going there. What are you doing? So at one point after a year, the doctor said, we've never seen this kind of recovery. What are you doing? And then I sat down thinking what I was doing. And this is what I was doing. I was not doing any different medication. I was done with medication. I didn't want to put anything else into it. Naturopathy, yes. There were certain things that were given. I followed a certain protocol, no doubt about it. Gut health, I was looking at it. Again, what I understood was that everybody's gut is different and no one diet plan, like
works
how
for
they have
everyone.
copy-paste, give me your diet plan. It doesn't work. And, so understood that, getting my sleep protocol right, meditation, waking up whenever. The one thing that I did was when I woke up was that I would, because when it was a lot of pain and, there were times when you would just say that I just don't want to get up. Like, let it be over. There's no need. What's the big deal? My husband will deal with my son. Let it be. It's his karma. Just let's move on from here. I can't bear this pain anymore. So there were days when you would just feel that let it end here. But that was a time when you said that, you forced yourself to smile. You moved the muscle. There was no smiley feeling at all, but I would move my muscles like a smile. And these are the muscles, I have to tell you, that the more you use them, the faster they move. And the moment you move those muscles, you start smiling. You try it. When you're not feeling like smiling, you just start faking a smile. And after some time, you'll genuinely smile. And so that was something that I do till today. When I wake up in the bed, I said, okay, smile. Let is it. What am I going to face my day with? Whatever it is that is coming, it's with a smile. That's what it is.
As a parent, I think it's really powerful because you've talked about this as well. Taking your son, who was much younger then.
Yeah. So he was
Talking
12 when I
him
was
through
diagnosed.
the whole thing, keeping him involved, because there's a lot of idea of let's protect the children.
Yes.
Let's not tell them. Let's tell them Mama's unwell, but she's going to be okay, right? Like recently, even Kate Middleton, who came out and said that she'd been diagnosed, and she said, we're figuring out how to talk to our children about this.
Yeah.
And this is the big challenge for us, is keeping the children, communicating with children. But you managed, and you're happy with the way that went.
So, Goldie and me went very instinctively with it. And the instinct in our parenting has always been that we're not going to lie to a child. So there'll be things that he might not understand at that point of time. And so rather than telling him, and that had been a process of parenting, that rather than saying that, you'll know when you grow up, or, just kind of not answering it or giving I say that I'm going to try to explain it to you. You might not understand it because you're a little young still. So I've always spoken to him like that. Both of us have spoken to him like that, where we'll say that, we'll try to explain it. But if you don't get it, don't worry. We understood it much later. So telling it, we also didn't get it at that time. So, you are at least noticing this and asking us this question. We had not even noticed it. Telling him something like that so that he knows that it's not your fault that you're not getting it.
You're not able to understand.
Or because, see, children, I think, are so perceptive. When you lie to them, they know you're lying. And what happens is that most of the time, they start thinking they've done something wrong and you're lying to them. Because deceit is deceit. It's something that is negative.
They'll know something's up with the house because everybody's behaving weirdly.
Of course they're going to know that. And then my other thing was that, listen, if this is the time I have, then rather than keeping him away, I want him with me.
Yeah.
It was very selfish. That part of thing was very selfish. And other thing, there was social media around. It's going to be, rubbish is going to be out. He is a 12-year-old at that age, going into 13, already a teenager, though he was 12. But, at that age, they're all, by 10, they're turning teenagers. He is going to see it. Some friend is going to see it. They are going to talk about it. And then he's going to misunderstand it and he's going to get scared.
Yeah.
So he was on a summer camp. So we just told the camp instructor that, we just kept it quiet till he came to us. I didn't put out my post till he came to me because I didn't want it out. And
him finding out.
I needed him to come to me. Once we had that thing with him, then I put my post out. So I put it out a little delayed post because of that. So when he came and when he landed, he was told, my sister went and picked him up from the camp and he's like, oh, Masi, you're picking me up. What happened? Oh, we are going there. How come we are going there? So, there has been a change of plans. You've been wanting to go New York holiday. Kind of a thing, Mama, Papa are there. I'm picking you up because even we are going, I'm joining you all for the holiday, etc., etc. He said, okay. He asked, his cousins, that they're not there. They think, no, they're not there. I'm going, maybe they'll join us later, kind of a thing. So he said, okay. He came, he landed, and Goldie went to pick him up at the airport. And so when he was in the car, he said that, okay, so, the thing is that it's not just a holiday. Something more is happening. So he said, what happened? So he said, Mama's not well, and we brought her here for treatment. And we are hopeful that it will all be okay, but we needed to bring her here for treatment. My child is an asthmatic child. So dramatically, he opens his bag, takes out his inhaler, takes a puff, sits quiet, looks at it, and he says, it's going to be tough on the family. So first of all, Goldie is like, what is my child speaking? He said, Papa, Mama read this book to me, in which, a younger sibling goes through this. And it's very tough on the rest of the family because the disease is a tough disease and the treatment is tough. And so that child really struggled and the whole family, it was tough on the family. So we had read a book together and that is how, so he knew that. I'm telling you, reading is so amazing. You learn, there are always a solution to every life's problem in some book or the other. So that was what it was. Then he came and he hugged me and I said, I promise you I'm going to make it. I promise you that. And then I said, now I have to live up to this promise. Because that was my instinct to tell him. When I saw his face, the way he was trying to be so grown up, that made me want to live. That made me say that, you know what? I need to be here for this boy.
Was it tough having to be in New York to do all of this? Because new city, new everything, also treatment at the same time, away from the support systems that you'd otherwise have in India.
I'm so glad I was in New York. I wouldn't have been able to do that in the city. There would have been too many. I needed that anonymity. Being able to be as ill as I could be without somebody judging it. I needed that little bit of a time before I was okay with people judging me. That transition period that I needed to get to the point where I could say, yeah, this is what I am now. This is the way it is. For me to reach that, I needed that little period. And that city gave me that anonymity. I'll always be grateful to that city for that. And love that city. Without its dirt and grime and all of that, it was just amazing energy. And, people say so many things about the city. And everywhere you feel, I was not a known face. Nobody knew me from an actor or anything. And the place where I would go for grocery most often. And, they knew because I was bald and you could see that I was in treatment. And, I'm not going to sit alone. So with my sister, I'm also coming to the grocery store, whatever it is. It's just something you're doing. And then the clerk who would, at the billing counter, one day she says that, my mother is in town in the city. Do you want me to get you? She cooks, so can I get you some soup? I wanted to cry there. She's a total stranger, has no idea, offering to get me soup. Only knows that she doesn't even know where I'm staying. She just knows that I'm somewhere nearby and I'm obviously here for my treatment. So she says this, and I'm just telling you that, this is what humanity is. And I realized that actually what comes to human beings, what comes most naturally is the giving, the love. We really fight it and be nasty. I don't know why do we do that. But this was a city which is called the cutthroat city. Nobody cares for anybody's city. And I met people like that everywhere through the treatment.
What does living joyfully mean to you now?
What I understand now, and it can change tomorrow, because I understand that I'm only a work in progress and I'm going to remain a work in progress till the day I die. So as of now, what I feel is the more I can be in the present, the more joyful it is. So that's what joyful is. It's not being happy. It is not being, we are only looking for the valleys or the peaks. That's where we think life is. And all our memories are also the valleys and the peaks.
Yes.
But the life is in between. It's the plateau. So it's one of my dear friends told me that remember, no stress. You're not supposed to stress. Every emotion has to be a plateau. No low, no high. Just a plateau. So every time that whatever you feel, it's a plateau. The moment I start feeling too happy, I'm like, okay, calm down. The moment I start thinking too much, okay, calm down. So it's a plateau. That's where you need to remain.
I know that you maintained almost a perfect lifestyle. And so when you got your diagnosis, it couldn't have been the lifestyle. And you had to work through that process of it was genetic. It's not something that I did. But on a more spiritual level, was there a question of why has this happened to me?
Yeah.
I'm not a bad person. I've not done anything wrong to deserve it. Why me? And how did you deal with that?
So I think Oscar Wilde quote, which I really like, and I've always used it in my life. There were two things, this quote and Rudyard Kipling's poem, If.
Okay, yes.
I had these on my board through school and through my, especially when I started working in the industry.
Which Oscar Wilde quote?
that no animal in the wild ever felt sorry for itself. So living beings are meant to go through certain things, and you don't. That sympathy that we wallow in is what holds us back. So the first thing is you have to stop feeling sorry for yourself and say that, okay, this has happened, now we move on. So why me is part of feeling sympathy for yourself. And as soon as I went there, I said, hello, this is not the route I want to take. I sat there, I said, okay, why me can have these many answers? What are the answers? Do you think this is the thing? You go logical about it. I remember I cried, I wept, I was up the whole night. It was in New York. I was sitting at a windowsill. Goldie was so tired, was passed out. He didn't know. I sat there the whole night and I was only talking to myself about this because it kept coming. The why me? Oh my God. And that, that pity, I just find that such a negative, wasteful emotion, that pity. And I hate it when somebody feels pity for me. And I think I take away from people if I feel pity for them. So I felt that's what I was doing. That why me is when you're feeling pity for yourself. And, that's the time when I said that I did that. I cried. And the sun was coming up and I said, you know what? This is it. I'm never going to ask this question again. I have spent a whole night. I've looked at what are the various reasons why it could be me. Let's figure out why this is happening to me. But I understand one thing. At the end of it, when I saw the sun coming, there was a very strong feeling inside me that it has happened to me because I have to learn something from it. I don't know why. It was just so clear that this is happening to me because there is something that is being taught to me.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to keep feeling the pity, I'm going to miss the lesson. So let me put this aside and start understanding that why has it happened? Let's learn the lesson. Let me look at it from that angle and change the perspective. Look at it from that angle and get on with it. And that is the day that hashtag one day at a time and switch on the sunshine, because the sun had come on. It was like a switch coming on, that thought in my head. I said, switch on the sunshine and one day at a time, I'm going to figure this out. And that hashtag is something that then I started using and I live by now. Yeah.
So this, when you went to New York, was 6-7 years ago now?
6 years.
6 years ago.
I'm in my 6th year of remission, clean completely. Feels like I've come back from therapy, from rehab or something. I'm saying clean, but yeah, completely clean.
Yeah.
And I'm in my 6th year. It's beautiful.
Congratulations. You have, I know, since then, visited hospitals, centers in India.
Yeah.
Are you amazed? Are you happy with the kind of progress we have made for the kind of treatments we can offer now in India, which were perhaps not around 6 years ago, which required
Can
you
I
to
tell
have to
you a
travel?
beautiful part of this
Please
journey?
do.
Winter in New York is definitely
Something we're not used to.
You know what?
Yeah.
No, forget that. The smile is frozen. You're trying to smile, it's frozen. It was like, and the aches and pains just become multifold. I don't know how people do it in cold countries. I know why they are tougher than us in the tropics, because that it's really a tougher life. But anyway, I was missing home, missing child and all of that. And I had been through a certain part of my treatment. And then my doctor said that we need to take a break and then go into the next part of it. Okay, so I had 3 months of break. He told my husband to just take her home. She's really missing and this cold is not really doing anything. And I'm like, yeah, 3 months, we'll come back for it. And then I had a rock star of a surgeon. He was literally the rock star, amazing surgeon. And, he told him that she's amazing. The way she's been recovering for this thing. She's amazing. And, I have worked with this doctor who can handle this. Why don't you check him out over there when you have to do for the next stage? Just check him out. You're most welcome to come back. He's telling me this. He says, I've worked with him. He gives me a doctor's number who's in Kokilaben, right next to, near my house in Mumbai. And so while Goldie was doing up and down, he goes there with our family doctor. He meets the doctor. Then he says, I need to meet you a couple of times more. So he sits and he interviews the doctor, spends time with him. And then he tells me, I'm comfortable with him. I feel confident about him. So he brings me back because he's confident about this doctor. And so we did my scans and whatever in those 3 months, what was needed. And I needed to go in for another surgery. My second surgery I needed to go through. So at that time, we were planning to go back for my second surgery. But by then, we were comfortable with this doctor. And my doctor over there tells me that if you're comfortable with him, why are you coming back? Your dog is there, your support system is there, he'll deal. And he said, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I did that part of my treatment here. So the second surgery and radiation, I was going to do here. But the beautiful part of it was that after my second surgery, I did not need radiation. We did the scans, we looked for it, and they were like, you don't need it. Yeah, it's not there. Are you sure? I'm like, should we do it for safety? No, you don't need to. And every time my reports, this doctor from here would send it to my doctor there. They both were talking. It was all like that. Again, like I keep saying, I think what has happened with this illness is it's just shown me that humanity is so beautiful and human beings can be so loving. I mean, while there are stories of doctors and how they fleece, and I'm sure they're true also, but I met a doctor who's actually sent me back and said that do it in your country. Why are you doing this here?
Yeah.
So that was my experience with the doctors here. Having said that, in the last few years, I've been part of many organizations that I work with, and I don't want to kind of talk about what those are, but I also have been working with the biotech department of the government, and where there are a lot of doctors and scientists and innovators that they're working, and the Ministry of Ayush.
Yes.
They're all in it together with the cabinet secretaries. And I was like, why are you calling me? I mean, I don't know anything. I don't understand this language. And they said, no, we want a survivor's feedback. And and they were tying up with the US government and the Indian government were doing certain tie-ups. So they said that you've had your treatment there. You've had your treatment here. So we just want a voice of a person. We are all who haven't gone through it. You've gone through it. So we just want to hear what you're saying. So I was very happy that they were doing that. And that was an eye-opener for me. Your innovations are coming from our country. The kind of innovations for the cost of treatment that's happening, it's happening here.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you the wonderful stuff that's happening here. And, even because when I sat with that Ministry of Ayush people and the integration, so they were like, you did naturopathy. So how do we heal? How do we holistically? So, what happens is that you need them to be tied in together because you need your naturopath to understand, because you don't want to take something that is going to work against the medicine and disrupt it. So that working. So how do you build that bridges? And they were all sitting there and asking me that, and we are working towards it. It's going to take time, but it's amazing to know that this progress is happening.
Because not everyone, most people would not be able to go to a New York and stay there for 6 months.
Absolutely, and you don't need
wildly
to.
Expensive, yeah. So to have the confidence that in India that a similar level of treatment could be available, which is not just the treatment, but also the bedside manner, the
bedside
way
manner
patients
can get better.
treated.
Also because we're just so many of us. Yeah. And everybody is, you can't blame them. They're just afraid, the working, they're afraid, So how much your bedside manner is going to get affected when you've been on the rounds for 24 hours, 48 hours, it is going to get affected. But having said that, there are, the Indian doctors are so amazing because there is only this much money and there are so many patients. Yeah. So what happens is that they are innovating. And when they're innovating, they've got so many new ways of treating breast cancer that is so much more cheaper and it stops it from coming, as they keep working, because they're working with people constantly. This is something that they're writing the papers, and this is all, it's just happening. And so what I feel is that there's so many newer things, so many, startups and inventions and research that is happening out of Pune, out of Chennai, out of Bangalore. Amazing stuff that is coming out. And whatever it is, I feel it is here.
Yeah.
This is, I'm sure there must be some, I don't know about a cure, but just the fact that if the treatment gets easier and if the conversation is there, if you can start detecting it earlier, and if you have a treatment which is not going to make you sell your house, then it's a doable thing. And I think we will get there.
The other technical thing that we must talk about is insurance.
Yes.
I've been tracking the insurance sector. I started tracking the insurance sector 20 years ago, when we
Yeah.
were telling everybody you have to get insurance, you have to get health
Yeah.
insurance, you have to get critical illness insurance. And you've been going around telling people you have to get insurance, right? Because nobody ever thinks it's going to happen to them.
But that was the thing. When I went through this illness, I said, what are the points that I could go here for my treatment? But there are so many who will not be able to go there. And, when I went there, the insurance that you need for abroad is different. Yeah, this insurance doesn't work there.
Yeah.
So, which was never taken. So you just understand how crucial it is. And you also understand that you always say this is not going to happen, but it does. So it's literally, we keep saving and as Indians, we're always saving for the children's education, for the children's marriage, for your children's health. Just start putting it in the insurance,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Insurance is important. Very, very important.
Get insurance, everybody. So I do want to ask you, though, about your ambition now, going forward. What kind of work are you looking forward to? What kind of challenges do you want?
So I'm looking to work, period. One way, but roles that are strong, that are interesting. It's not the length of the role, but it's the quality of what am I saying in there that is important for me. And I think Broken News was a part of that. I mean, I said no to a lot of other work, which, like a lot of people who had come to me with the series where I was headlining, and they said you're doing an ensemble cast, because Broken News is ensemble in that sense, you know, you're doing that. But I just felt that I played Amina Qureshi, was saying something that was so relevant today, made so much sense today. And, my character in Broken News as Amina was an educated, career-oriented woman who did not have the perfect. She had a great career, but had a really messed up personal life.
Yeah.
And yet it was not like it was a fault. There was a gray area to it. She looked a certain way. You don't have to be. She was of a certain age, and again, like I said, the moment you age, it doesn't mean that you have to be sloppy, or it doesn't mean and well dressed doesn't mean bodycon dresses. Please, in fact, as you age, can we stop them? That assault on our eyes. But yeah. So you can be well dressed without it being that, and say things. You don't have to be. How do I say it without it being a serious looking, kind of a thing. You can be glamorous and yet have brains and say something.
Yeah.
Now, all these things kind of fell together in Broken News, and I said, oh, I have to do this. So what if it is not headlining? It's, I still need to do this, because everything that I keep talking about and I want to do is coming in. Unfortunately, it's not coming in a role that I'll be headlining. So let me take the chance.
But it was your show. Broken News was your show.
Well, I'm glad you think so, but on script, it was never my
was
show.
not? Oh,
No,
it
was
seemed
not.
like, though. It seemed like.
I owned it.
Yeah.
Because I liked it and I owned it, but it was not on paper. It was not my show.
Oh, Sonali, thank you so much for giving me this time.
My
And I wish you such good luck with all the work you're going to do. And I wish you so much joy.
Thank you
every
so
day.
much. I wish
Thank
that
you.
for you too. Thank you for having me.
This was a
I
pleasure.
had a time too.
This was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.